Joanne, where are you? It's beautiful.
No. Looks like York, Maine to me.
So hello everybody, we always start off with a bit of an icebreaker, and I thought I would share with you since I'm on vacation. I am in Algonquin, yes, overlooking the ocean and over to the Kennebunk River, so I thought it'd be nice for an icebreaker just to do a little guessing game to kick it off. Hope everybody is doing well today. We are going to do introductions and go around, and some of you from my last meetings know that we had ransomware attack in our school district, and so all of our devices had to be brought back in and swept. So I am using my Chromebook, which I'm not as familiar with as my Lenovo. So I apologize with any glitches that might happen during this meeting in advance. So my name is Joanne Roberts, and I'm a consultant for Vital Communities, and I'm here to help facilitate the meetings. And hi, Julie, would you like to do an introduction?
Sure. Good afternoon, and your location is beautiful, Joanne. Julie McConnell, Director of Special Projects with Early Learning New Hampshire.
Great. And can you popcorn it to the next person?
Sure, I'll popcorn to Jackie.
Muted, Jackie.
Hi, Joanne. Nice to see you in person. I was able to talk with you on the phone, which was lovely. And I'm the Executive Director of Early Learning New Hampshire, and we are a statewide nonprofit. We'll be talking a little bit about it. I noticed in the chat that Amy's on a phone meeting until 1. So again, we can sort of talk about whether we should wait or whatever, but go ahead, Katie.
Hello, I'm Katie Brissett. I'm the Deputy Director working at Early Learning New Hampshire. And Sean.
Sean Mahone, City Manager here in Lebanon. And let's see. Wait, we already did Julie, didn't we? And Amy's tied up, so that's it.
That's great. Wonderful. So, Jackie, again, thank you so much for joining us today. We mentioned Early Learning New Hampshire several different times, and I just thought it would be fantastic if you could talk a bit about your work right now. And that's fine. I know Amy's familiar with your work. What she wanted me to mention to you is kind of the bandwidth of our early childhood educators right now, and that what we gleaned from the retreat is really trying to support them where they're at today. Right. And one of their needs was in regard to food resources. So we're working with several organizations to try to figure out ways that we can do some procurement to be able to perhaps work with local restaurants to prepare meals on their off hours and then bring those meals to the centers, and working on that over the next couple months. But that was one of their priorities. And as an ECEA board member, I can share that we are also focusing on building our advocacy strategies. Our networks is something that's really important to us in the Upper Valley, and then coordinating those efforts by state-wide, however we can. I don't know a lot about Early Learning New Hampshire, so if you could give us an overview, that would be fantastic.
Sure. And again, I think I missed it when you said the number one reason, and then you were going to go to the restaurants with the meals. Was it lowering operating costs? Was it, what was it? Sure. Oh, you're muted again. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a lift of their time, but also their resources and costs.
Got it.
And so it kind of connected with them on multiple levels as a
Right.
need where how can we get in there and help? We also have the businesses that are losing the funding and support post-COVID. So how can we get our local restaurants to continue to get that income and kind of create this cooperative union?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely outside the box thinking. That's nice. So I'll be really brief, and then I'm going to really turn it over to Katie, and then I'm going to ask Julie to add anything she wants. And I know, Sean, have a sort of a basic sense, but I think, Sean, you, like other people, probably have heard that CELA doesn't work everywhere. And that has actually not been the case. That had been the case a long time ago, but that has not been the case for years. So let's just tell you a little bit I'll start with Early Learning New Hampshire. We are a statewide nonprofit. We've been around for about 20 years. We were formed from a merger of 5 existing organizations that were actually all sort of funded by Providian Bank back then when they used to exist. They've now dissolved and merged into something else. But they had childcare as their number one priority back in the mid-90s. And then towards the early 2000s, when our U.S. Senator Shaheen was governor, she helped form Early Learning New Hampshire with Providian Bank in a way that was like, can we do this all more, rather than, a funny way of putting it, the person in charge at Providian Bank for the childcare giving said, I'm sick of paying for 5 phones. I'm sick of paying for 5 offices. Can you guys just get together and do things differently and maybe, think about how collectively you could be stronger? And that's how Early Learning New Hampshire was formed, after a thoughtful process of how to do it. Its number one purpose was really to both support the field of childcare programs, the families they serve, and to do advocacy. So frankly, we were funded in the first couple years of our life by Providian and then Nellie Mae Education Foundation for advocacy. And actually, since then, we have not been funded for advocacy. We do advocacy, but very little funding for it. We do it as part of our mission. But so we really, we also, I don't know if you ever heard of Spark New Hampshire. Yeah, so we were the fiscal sponsor of Spark. Governor Lynch appointed us as the coordinating body of Spark New Hampshire. We were their fiscal sponsor for about 10 years, when then it was formed, and Governor Sununu turned it into the Council for Thriving Children. And so Spark was dissolved formally, but that was also, so we did childcare work. We also took a break, and not a break, but 10 years or so, we were doing early childhood systems building, health, family support, education, etc. So we've really turned our attention, especially during the pandemic, towards childcare and what can be done to support the families who need it, their affordability, and also the programs themselves. And now, very importantly, the workforce, which we probably, we call the workforce behind the workforce. And so that has really been our number one focus since the pandemic hit. We started what is called CELA. It stands for State Early Learning Alliance. And we formed that back in, really formally in 2011 with a group of Head Start and childcare programs on the Seacoast that were all United Way funded. We got a grant to think, doing things differently. And have Sean or Joanne, have you ever heard of Louise Stoney? You have, Joanne? Okay. She's really the national expert in shared services. This idea of you might remain independent businesses, but how can you do pooled purchasing? How can you leverage each other's assets and strengths, share expertise, share like I said, buying power to really help lower operating costs and perhaps give better benefits to your staff. And so we started that in 2011 with the advice of Louise Stoney. We partner with $2 billion businesses here in New Hampshire. We partner with CCA Global Partners in Manchester. They help us do our negotiating. They help us do our reaching out. They actually do it nationally, and we're one of the states now. We started off originally with them, and now they're in 33 states negotiating on behalf of childcare programs, as well as really good at your fingertip tools for classroom teachers and administrators. Then we partner with Great North Property Management, Lou Gargiulo down in Exeter. Oh, by the way, Howard Brodsky was the CEO of CCA Global. He's still involved, but he helped design what we were doing here in New Hampshire with CCA Global. Lou Gargiulo down in Great North Property Management has been very instrumental in using his clout as a property manager with plumbers and businesses. He has HR people, he has accountants, he has reach with all this property management and his buying power to, again, do a little bit more locally, New Hampshire specific versus the other is national discounts. All right. So anyway, so we've tested it for many, many years. It's been very successful. When it's used, it's highly unsuccessful when it's not. We find that sometimes we present to a group of directors and it's like, okay, whatever we can do, how can we do this? For some, it's like, I'd love it, but I don't have a second in my day and I can't even think of anything new. Please go away. And then it's some who don't even hear, just are asked, would you like to do this? No, right? No, they don't have time to even think of something new. What we've learned in the last couple of years, we've partnered with the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, the CDFI here, Community Development Finance Institution. Julie will tell you more about that. During the pandemic, to really leverage our strengths and assets differently. We have been able to, we were able to raise about $780,000 over the last year to do our joint work and work differently, Joanne. So what that meant was we were very lucky to get very intensive work in the Seacoast to really work one-on-one with these United Way organizations, build it over time, work out the kinks together. We used to call it a faith-based organization because we had faith it would work. Now these people are out, and so we have people in the Seacoast, we have some people in the Upper Valley, we have people in Monadnock, we have people in Concord, we have people all over the state that are using it well. And so it is not a region specific, even though people thought it was. And so, Katie, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about how we're working really differently, and then we can go into the specifics of the kinds of things we do to lower operating costs. Go ahead, Katie.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, Joanne, that comment you made in the beginning about the providers are overwhelmed, that is totally understandable. That's what we hear from everyone. So this is not meant to be something to add to their plate. It's really meant to take things off their plate, give them time back in their day, give them money back to their program. And the biggest difference from when it started till now is the people power behind it. So no longer are we telling providers and directors, you have this great benefit, here you go figure out how to do it and save some money and good luck. Now we sort of set it up in a way where we have what we call CELA navigators. And these are one-on-one people. They're holding the hand of the people who are trying to access the benefits. They're getting the quotes on their behalf. They're really walking them through the process. They're, as much as they can do and take off the plate, they're doing that so that the program doesn't have to think about the extra work that might be involved. And so they're realizing the savings once that all goes through. And this, I've been involved with CELA since the beginning. And for me, this has been what's made all the difference. I think having these navigators in place is really why, and Jackie will probably talk about some of the numbers, why we have people accessing things like telehealth, why we have people using the platform more directly, why they're getting discounts on projects that they need to have done at their centers. It's really made all the difference for why people are accessing the benefits that are there.
Yeah. And what would you add, Julie?
I think just to emphasize my role here on the Vital Communities Work Group is representing Early Learning New Hampshire. So I think when and you've heard me share different perspectives because I retired from the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. So I bring that background as well in terms of things like the business of childcare. But what surfaced for me in one of our last meetings was talking about this issue around food resources and savings, and just wanting to make sure that this work group understands that the platform is available to providers.
Yeah.
And there could be potentially savings on the platform for food purchasing, but also wanting to emphasize that the Upper Valley is unique with the work that Amy's doing with the ECEA.
Right.
And we're just wanting folks to understand that CELA is another benefit that can supplement the work that's being done in the Upper Valley. And we just wanted this group to be aware of, what CELA can offer, where it may make sense.
And I think, what we've learned in some other places, and not just, like in other places that have that kind of support that Amy offers and is funded to do, is amplifying and leveraging that. Like if there's something, what we suggest is find out if CELA already has a terrific benefit. Don't spend a ton of time trying to replicate what CELA does. If CELA's if those national discounts are already good, look for a different kind of discount, look for a different kind of support, rather than and we actually went and did the same thing in the beginning. It's just a natural instinct. We have, liability insurance, commercial insurance, workers' comp insurance, all these kind of things. And then what would happen is, this is, it's really widely shared. So it does tend to be a pretty good value. But then people would I'm still going to check, and I'm going to do all these kind of things, taking all that time. It's just the nature of our world, I think, that you want to find the best deal. Well, find good deals on other things. Use the discounts that have already been negotiated to you by really good experts, unless it's not a good discount. And if it's not, tell us and we'll try, and they'll find another one. You see what I mean? That has been sort of something that we've seen a lot that happens, is that people duplicate, either because it's sort of in their nature to try to see if they could get a better deal. But number two, sometimes they just don't even know that deal's there. So here they go looking and taking all that time. You've already got something available to you. So that's one of the things we feel strongly about that would be good for folks to know. And so much of it is already available for free to everyone in the Upper Valley. We do some deep dive with the Great North Property Management deep dive that puts more money in the back of pockets of staff, back in the pockets of staff, more money that actually goes into the families. They can get some of these discounts when they have a little extra, but we try right now, there's so much that's already out there available for free. And, we have talked with Amy, and we understand, oftentimes people can't even go to their board meetings or their regular meetings, right? But we were trying to figure out what's the best way, leverage the people they already know. There's stuff out there that could honestly put $5,000 to $10,000 back in the pocket right now. You don't have to pay for Indeed, for instance, Joanne. Indeed is free through this platform. So many people are paying for Indeed. It's like $600 a month per job opening. And this, I think Sunny, Julie, you mentioned, Sunny mentioned it last meeting. It's so easy to use. It's there. It's free. It's already negotiated for them. With one click, it goes to Indeed and 15 other sites: Glassdoor, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Google Jobs. One click, it's all posted for free. And then they have a dashboard and a candidate management system right there. There's an HR hotline. I know you guys are also working with the United Way up there, I think, right, with doing some HR supports. But there's also, for only $300 a year, from 9 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, you've got access to an HR expert for free if you pay that $300 anytime. So there's things that we just, it's there and it's ready. And when people use it, Joanne, I don't think we've ever met an average size program that didn't save more than $10,000. Jen Hosmer, she's saving over $10,000 a year every year. See, what happens is not just this year, it's every year. You're right. So, So that's why we really wanted to make sure you knew and didn't try to duplicate or worse, compete. It makes no sense. But whatever, whatever can be done to try to, we're, like Katie said, we're working differently. So we're taking it off their plate. I'll tell you a little bit of a funny story. We used to take like 2 hours to train people how to access the liability insurance quotes and how to get a hold of this person and train them how to get quotes. And then, guess what? We'd talk to them the following month. They didn't have time to get a quote. Then we'd call up again, like, I'm so sorry, I just couldn't get to it. Then the third month they'd stop taking our calls because they just didn't have time. And we thought, how silly. We know how to get a quote. All we have to do is, do you want us to get you a quote? Yes or no, and we get them a quote. So we're working differently so that it should be very, very easy. Like Katie said, it will save them time over time, as well as just putting those, getting those discounts, and we help them negotiate it. So yeah.
And one thing we've talked about doing is, we can say this over and over again, but we have
Oh,
members who are willing to testify to this, and share their stories and how it's
Testimonials,
working
yeah.
for them. So our CELA premium
Yeah.
members, we have enough success stories that they're willing to now share their story and say, this is why we think it's valuable. So hearing
Yeah.
from providers directly sometimes makes a difference.
I'm just remembering Julie. Julie and I presented this, the Early Childhood Funders Collaborative. Couch sits on it. They had was it a January meeting or February? Do you remember, Julie?
Maybe February, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But and so they recorded the meeting, and we were able to invite programs that are actually using CELA well. And that recording exists as well. So we should figure out, because we can't keep asking other childcare providers to come to all these meetings, but they can come and talk and ask and answer questions. But it's very easy for folks to get CELA. And if we or someone they already know and trust isn't helping them use it, it doesn't get used. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
But accessing the web platform, is very easy. We can send them a link to sign up.
But to be fair, we can do that, but nothing will happen.
Mhm.
I mean, seriously, that's what we've learned. We can give them, you really need to be able to explain the why, and then help get the what back into their pockets, get, that kind of stuff. And again, someone like an Amy or someone they already know can really help. I'm just going to, if I may, just share my screen. May I do that? Yeah, looks like I can. Okay. Let me just do that right now. And I'm just going to show you, for instance, there's so much. See, we're not going to go into all the detail. And this is a bit like a fire hose, but I'm not even going to, I can send you this, but there's so much, both administratively and classroom wise. It's not just discounts, it's time savers, it's templates, it's tools, it's quality supports. So I didn't want to, I'm not going to go into all the detail, but there's so much value to it. We do find that the big difference is having somebody support them, not just giving it to them. Yeah.
Jackie, how about the food program?
Now, the food program is on the website. It's available to everyone right now in the Upper Valley, everywhere throughout New Hampshire that is a licensed childcare program. However, you have to be a little bit larger, because if you're very small, there's a minimum delivery charge. But we again we can show people about it. We can have somebody come and present, frankly, from the food program. And it's not just food. There's all sorts of paper products and cleaning products. There's all sorts of things there. And people who use it, they save about 20% off their costs typically. And that
it's
adds
also
up.
tied to the CACFP food program. So if people are part of that, there's ways to save on things that they need for them.
Yeah. The child and adult care food, must know it, Joanne. Yeah. Yeah.
This has been really helpful, and having Julie be part of our committee meetings has really helped identify great links between things, which is what I'm trying to do, is just connect the dots. I think
Right.
you were talking
Yeah.
about human nature, and New Hampshire tends to do things in silos and
Yeah.
reinvents the wheels quite a
Yep.
bit. And I also know from attending the day of the retreat with many educators in the field, it is that point of bandwidth. And I'm thinking, if we could do the legwork, talking
Right.
about what our goals are for this committee, and just say,
Yeah.
well, we need to reinvent this because it exists, or this model exists, and we can reuse
Yeah.
this model.
And there may
That
be
would
new
be
things they
great.
want. Sure, go for the new things too, right? But you've got the
Right.
stuff already there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
we'd
I
be
would
glad
love,
to help. Yeah.
yeah, if you could send me the recording and also specific
Yeah.
information about the food program, because
Okay.
Vital Communities is doing a subset of group. My colleague Anna has been heading that work. And so if
Okay.
I could get that
Good.
into her hands,
Yeah.
that might save them a lot of time and energy
Yeah.
as well, which is what we're all trying to do. We're trying to find ways to support, to
Yeah.
amplify voices. What is the work that you do, or do you do work in regard to legislative efforts? And
Yeah. So we
'cause
do. Yeah.
okay.
And
I
so
was
what we
wondering,
do, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Joanne, go
I
ahead.
was just wondering what that connection might be, because we started off a year or so ago kind of calling ourselves a grassroots effort, and we realized that we're better off putting our effort into something that's already being channeled
Right. Right.
and increasing it that way.
Mhm.
So I was just wondering what that network might be with us.
Yeah, so there's as Sean, of course, with the property tax work, you started it here, but then it sort of went the other way too, where all of us came and tried our best effort, to try to see if that could go. And it was a good starter, it's on the table to be talked about next year, right, Sean? Yep, yep. And but so every Wednesday, Early Learning New Hampshire, together with several other organizations very, very focused on childcare, spends an hour every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30 talking about childcare strategy. We also attend, so New Futures, which does early childhood advocacy and includes childcare. They also, we all worked together to form what was called Senate Bill 237 this year. So the childcare very specific group, New Futures does send somebody, Moms Rising, Mackenzie's there, Amy is there, Couch comes, the Charitable Foundation usually comes, childcare providers, everyone is an open welcome. If you can, on Wednesday mornings, a little bit of a deeper dive. But what we may do is come up with something, Joanne. Okay, we got to work on this. Then, just like you're doing, a committee gets formed to then go deeper into that off of those 1 hour meetings. So Vital Communities, anyone is welcome to come to those Wednesday sessions. But I said, Amy does come. And I think it's terrific that ECEA is now so interested in advocacy. And I know we've just started talking at those meetings about having something along with the clout and bandwidth of something like a Let's Grow Kids in New Hampshire. So that's Vermont's Let's Grow Kids. They have like 35 people and they've been well funded. They were sunsetting, but they had a big push. A lot of people waking up every day to do nothing but childcare advocacy. And so we're looking and trying to think of a plan of how that could happen in New Hampshire. And we'd love to have you, Joanne, join us on those Wednesday sessions. We're right in the middle, and you're still welcome to join. We're in the middle of every June. We spend time thinking about the priorities for the following year and into the future, right? And so we'd love to have you join whenever you can. And then again, we take that priority list, we share it with others that might be thinking about childcare that don't come to those meetings, like, New Futures has a priority setting when they, they're doing early childhood writ large, which includes childcare. So,
Jackie, I think just to add, one thing that's really special about that priority setting is that the provider's voice is there. So we
Quite a
have
bit.
representatives from the Child Care Advisory Council. We have our large Zoom calls where we vet the list. Amy, I know, is always talking about we need the providers at the, you know, the front of this work. So that's what I love about it. It's really coming from the field as well as the advocates
Right.
working together and piecing this together.
For those who can attend that, right? And then what we have, as you might know, Joanne, I don't know if you know, so we co-host with 9 other organizations a Zoom call with the childcare community, a huge group, like 100-ish, twice a month. And so we'll vet what we're thinking with them back and forth. And it's often their conversation that informs ours conversation first, right? And so those are twice a month. We'll also make sure you're invited to those. And Amy attends those as well. She's one of ECEA, as you might know, is another co-host. Yeah, so those have been really valuable to help figure out the prioritization. Now, Amy shared with me, and it didn't surprise me, that, you know, when some folks jump on, the advocacy can sound like Greek. You know, it's just overwhelming. I don't know what Jackie's talking about, right? And I used to be there. I moved here in 1990. I had never run a childcare program, and I used to come to these meetings in person that used to exist around childcare strategy. I was lost, but I was lucky that I had some mentors that helped me. And so we've just started talking about, we might be able to start having also a session either right before or right after. We'll ask people to really go more methodically, more thoughtfully into what we're talking about, because there are so many people on the big calls who are, you know, that's one of the things they're interested. They, you know, you can't have a 3-hour, 4-hour meeting, but I think we're going to start offering a way for folks who are getting into advocacy for the first time to feel really supported and comfortable raising their hand, like, wait a minute, what was that? What? I don't understand that. And we'd love to do that. So we just started talking about trying to do that now. Yeah.
I think too,
And
Jackie,
Jackie-
it's,
Go ahead, Julie, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's a good opportunity to share. We've had significant policy wins this year,
Mhm.
both through the
All of
budget
us.
and then additional allocations and appropriations. So I don't know if you want to just highlight that, Jackie. The wins that we had this year were significant.
Yeah, and when we say we, it's a big we, Joanne.
Mhm.
You know, so I'll just be really quick about it. But so in a typical, you know, we've been doing this for 20 plus years as Early Learning New Hampshire. I've been in the state for a little over 33 years, I think, if I do my math right. And the most we ever got added to the childcare state budget in new investment in childcare was about $8 million a year. We were very proud of it. The whole budget was at that point was 28 million. So 8 million out of 28, that's a big bump in a year. This one adds up to likely over 25 million a year. The numbers are still getting added up, but it's quite a significant investment in comparison to previous efforts. And of course, the pandemic, the collectiveness of all of us working so hard and so well together is a big piece of that. I'm going to highlight 4 big things that are happening. 3 of them are family access and affordability, which often helps programs too, because when families can afford it, it helps programs. When families don't, you know, they don't have to have a big balance due, and that's hard on everybody. More families will now qualify. So it's going to what's called 85% of state median income, which means a family of 3. Maybe it's a mom with 2 kids, maybe it's a mom and dad with a baby, 3 in the household. If they earn about $83,000 a year, they're now going to qualify. It used to be down in the 50s. So that's a big bump. There's a lot more families that are going to get some help from the state affording childcare. That's going to be huge. That is a federal recommendation. So we're really glad that's happening. And what that's called 75th percentile, they do a market rate survey every once in a while. And then what they do is they set the rate for everybody at a percentage of, like, all programs charge this much or less. So it used to be, again, at 50%. Babies, infants, and toddlers had 60%. Now everybody's at 75%, which means they many, many more programs they might be able to afford. So, and then the last one is called enrollment-based scholarship, where where those who qualify for the income that are on state assistance for childcare can actually get their payments based on the fact that they're enrolled, rather than which day they show up and which hours they show up, you know. And so it levels the playing field for these families. That's the way private pay clients pay. You know, so if they're sick for a week, you know, that was really hard for both the program and the family when, you know, they wouldn't get paid by the state. So this is really exciting. It should help a lot.
Yeah, we've been watching it and definitely celebrated along with everybody else when it came through. I know that was many years of hard work, not just this year. And I'm hearing very positive things because we weren't sure we were going to get as far as we actually did this year.
That's right.
So listening to that side, and there's going to be a lot happening in the next day or two with Vermont with the veto.
Oh, I can't wait to hear.
So
yeah,
keep our eyes and ears open for what's going to happen in the next few days with that.
okay.
And so kind of interesting having a foot in both states, how went about it differently, but
Right.
still really important investments for our educators and our children and our families. That's for sure.
And I did mention, I forgot the one thing, which you probably already do know, that the 15 million of new money based on this year's budget surplus put towards the childcare workforce, retention and recruitment efforts, a one-time payment at the moment, with a mandate to have DHHS put money, I didn't say how much, but put money into the following biennium. And as you probably know, there's a big push. We want to do a very significant finding a new revenue source, determining where a new revenue source could come for childcare investments. Yeah.
Joanne, are they trying to override that veto in Vermont?
Pardon me?
Are they trying to override that veto in Vermont?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Great.
We had an update from Let's Grow Kids and Emily Tenenbaum. It's been terrific. She attended our meeting that was just on Friday. That was a steering committee meeting. And she said that we should keep our eyes and ears open for information to help push out on Tuesday and Wednesday. They think that's going to be the time frame.
Excellent.
That's
Good luck.
National news.
Sure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
One of the questions I had is, if you're an early child care provider, is there a fee that's due to be part of CELA or not?
There are two options. And again, because we do have private philanthropy funding the website, being able to go for free, that's where a lot of things are there that are very, very valuable. All those classroom tools, those admin, time saver, template tools. And that's where the job posting site is for free. That's where a lot of the savings are for the programs. That's free. There's no charge. We're hoping to keep that going. We have private funders at the moment. The other one, there is what they call CELA Premium. That's where we get the Great North, the clout of the plumbers and the property management. And that's where the deep discounts are for commercial insurance and workers' comp. The teachers themselves can get homeowners and renters insurances at discounts. The families can get homeowners and renters insurances for discounts. There's a really big discount, huge, one of those. Great North does it for its employees, and it's extending into all families and childcare workforce. Things like Hertz and pet insurance, and it's just this huge list of discounts. And then Suburban, so propane. We partner with Suburban Propane through Great North. They can actually, and families, both families and teachers. We know people that are getting $2,000 off their propane bill every year. I mean, that's big stuff. It's real, and it's out there. And, and if
Jackie, sorry if you already said this, but that's literally, they have to fill out a short flyer, and we get them a quote, and their propane is reduced by that much. I mean, that's a very simple process for them.
But again, if you just tell them, they don't do it. It's just normal human behavior. It's not a childcare thing. That tends to be true of benefits.
The fee for CELA Premium?
Yeah,
Joanne,
so
back to you. Yeah.
what we try, it's 2,400 a year. It sounds crazily high, except we haven't met anyone that's had less than $10,000 worth of benefit from it. But that we have to work with them to make sure they get that benefit. What we try to do mostly, Joanne, is get a funder to fund the first year while they then decide if it's worth it. The second year, they're on their own. There's no mandate that they pay it. And like I said, 100% of the folks who use it stay with it for years. We have 12-year members that have been there for 12 years and loving it. And but if they, and that had been our fault in the past, if they're given it and they don't use it, needless to say, off they go. Yeah.
That is really helpful. Thank you so much. Any questions from other folks on the call? I know I've been kind of leading the questions. Sean?
Yeah, I just, have you spoken to Lori Weaver or the folks at DHHS in regards to getting the word out about the scholarship program? Because my staff here didn't know anything about it. I went and made sure they, all those that were pregnant became aware of that so they could at least apply. And of course, some of them didn't qualify.
Right.
But do you know if they have a plan to help push this out? Because if they have materials, we can help push it out locally.
I love
through
it. I know.
our business alliance and all of that, get the word out to employees on the ground. Hey, look, these programs are available. You really should apply for this. I mean, that's what it took in my workplace to be able to get that done. But do you know if they have any materials or what they're planning? I know, obviously it just got passed. So it's
Right.
going to take a while to
Gonna take
put all
time.
that together.
But it's been in place forever too.
Yeah,
It's more people will be
Right.
qualifying, but it's been in place forever. I think they have a small contract with the New Hampshire Children's Trust to market it. But honestly, we haven't seen, we like the Children's Trust. This isn't a dig against them, but I don't think
Right.
they're getting much money. And I don't, and so nothing's really, people just don't know about it, Sean. There was an example up in COAS that I loved where they did locally, they got the DHHS local person, the TANF local person, and they went to a motel.
Yeah.
There was a business owner, the motel allowed them to take, to come in and present and stay there and sign people up. 90% of their employees qualified for something and none of them had ever heard of it.
Okay.
So I think, honestly, I think it'd be terrific for you, to reach out to Lori and others, because she may not know it, now that she's in that position. It's a well-kept secret. And I don't think they have good flyers. I don't think they have,
And
I don't think they have anything. Yeah.
these policy changes are going to be so great for parents and providers. So you're right, Sean, there needs to be effective communication. And unfortunately, there hasn't been in the past. And hopefully around this, there will be, but it's going to take time. You're right.
If a Let's Grow Kids like thing existed where there were 15 of us really being able to spend time, and Sean, it'd be great to develop these kinds of flyers ourselves if DHHS isn't going to do it. And then,
That's what I'm thinking.
And then businesses can just start using it. We do that with Vroom and Mind in the Making. We do some lunch and learns sometimes because we were funded by Bezos Family Foundation to do that temporarily. And that was quite effective, going for lunch and learns to tell employees. It was to help them with child development. But I love that thinking. Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to do here. We'll use our Upper Valley Business Alliance and we'll actually put together a video clip of it and then some materials and get it out.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
We just need to know some more of the details when that's going to be available. I suppose we don't know the effective date and when those changes are going to take effect for customers to take advantage of that, parents to take advantage of that. But
we don't know, and we're worried it's going to take a long time. You know how these things work. It's an IT change and all sorts of things. My guess is November-ish. I would love it to be sooner. But even now, Sean, there's benefits there.
It's just a lot of people don't qualify for them right now. That's the problem.
You're right. That's a good point. It'll be a lot more. Yeah.
If I'm going to spend the money, I want to be able to have the, what it's going to be. Of course, that gives me enough time though between now and November to also put that together.
True. That's terrific.
I don't see Lori till next month. I got a meeting with her. So who is the other person up there to contact? Because Lori's not the right person. She's the commissioner, but
I think Karen Hebert. Now,
I know
Karen, you know Karen, right?
Yep.
So, she's their division director. They do have a bureau, I mean, more directly involved, but honestly, I like a lot of the people in the bureau, but if you want something done, you got to tell their boss, Karen.
Yeah.
So Karen Hebert would be who I would
Okay.
alert and see what could be done. Yeah. I think you might get an answer like, oh, we already have a contract for that. It's been around for 2 years. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
Thank
it'll be helpful to have external people looking for that and putting some pressure on them.
Yeah.
To be thinking that through and getting the systems changes in the works, because this will be so significant.
Yeah.
But we can get it out to all of our employers, and they can push it down to their people. So that's
so great.
Yeah,
so
that's
great.
that's how we'll do it here in this
Good.
region.
Great.
Good.
Thank you. That's
We-
helpful.
Yeah, we also have a lot of people on our ECE listserv. If you're not on it, if there is a flyer or information, we can push it out. And we
Yeah.
recently learned that NPR is part of the group that gets this information.
Good.
So, they might
Yeah.
get a hit on something that's coming
Right.
through and do an article. Or
Yeah.
today I mentioned our work in a Valley News article, just to kind of give it a little bit of a spotlight,
Nice.
so people know that it's actually happening. Because I think people are so busy, they don't necessarily know what efforts are going on.
Right.
I'm meeting with Sarah Vecchiato from
Good.
Couch, and Sarah Kay and Christina D next week.
Good.
We'll all be partnering together in this work as well. It sounds as though through that Wednesday group and the other group that would help me.
Yes.
I am still learning the edu jargon and
Of course.
the politics of it all.
Yep.
So the more I hear the repetition of it, the more I can connect the dots. Which
Great.
basically I see as my role, trying
Yeah.
to be the connector of the dots, not reinventing
Fabulous.
things, sharing information, getting people together. I'm actually meeting with the commissioner of DOE and the deputy
Good.
commissioner on July 6th.
Great.
And part of what I want to talk with them about is a lot of communities ECE work and the fact that we don't have a standalone vision. And what does the DOE plan to do?
Right.
And what is DHHS's connection?
Yeah.
And from my background in public education, I'm more
Mhm.
familiar with the DOE than DHHS.
Mhm.
And I want to perhaps help facilitate conversations about what are the stakeholders' needs. And then that way we're looking and reflecting how those departments can best support this work
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
the money comes through. So I'm connecting on the state
Good.
level to
Good.
as best as we can.
We'll send you right after we get off, either Katie or I will send you. So have you heard of the Council for Thriving Children? Joanne? Okay. So that's really DOE and DHHS. And they have interagency and intra-agency committees. They also reach out to stakeholders. They've just finished a strategic planning process. So it'd be good for you to sort of just peruse that probably before you talk to Commissioner Edelblut, their strategic planning process around their vision of ECE. It's a vision of early childhood, EC, but ECE's in there. So Katie, you probably know the strategic plan a little bit better than I know. You were more involved. Is there much in there about pre-K?
It's definitely mentioned, but they're still at the point where it's very high level objectives. They haven't really gone down into the action items. So I think it's mentioned for sure, but I don't think it talks about strategies to get there, anything that deep at this point.
I read one a couple months ago and it felt like it was broad paint strokes.
Yeah,
versus
it might be the same thing.
targeted action steps.
Yeah.
So I think with my consulting work, I might be able to, if they're open to it, talk about what the strategic action steps might be, getting the stakeholder input and being a bit of a bridge for them.
Nice.
My background is in creating an agile education course, which is a 2-day course, and perhaps their staff could participate in that course, and the outcome would be more targeted strategic planning focused on ECE. So I think that's what we need to have happen a bit is figure out more of the details and
Yeah.
who's going to be responsible for what. So
Right.
it doesn't keep circling around, that there's ownership and leadership in the
Yeah.
process.
And
I think
Joanne,
that is
I
something.
apologize for this. Is Vital Communities just the Upper Valley region? Is that your target area? Yeah.
It is the target area, but we are understanding that this is such a by-state need
Right.
that in order to have advocacy and voices, we're networking out as best
Yeah.
as we can.
Mhm.
A great addition has been Nancy and Mackenzie from Moms Rising.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Right.
you're familiar. So
Yeah,
when
both
you were
of
talking
them, yeah.
about advocacy, they have already kind of created an advocacy training
Yeah,
for
they're very
parents.
tapped in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's lots of us doing this work. It's a
Mhm.
bit of a puzzle, and kind of putting the pieces together as far as who's who and mapping out the vision, I
Mhm.
think is probably in the next step over the next year or two,
Mhm.
and figuring out where that will lead
Yeah.
us. And it sounds as though the work that you've all done has a great foundation to start with, for
Mhm.
sure. I know that's
Mhm.
a lot of hard work, but
Yeah.
I think what you were talking about with discounts is what this group began to talk about. And then we
Mhm.
realized that
Yeah.
there's already things happening. So let's just network and find out who has it, as
Yeah.
we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I-
One of the things, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when Spark New Hampshire existed, they also had to write a strategic plan. And it was very, very, very involved with stakeholders getting to the point of targeted action and who leads. That was a really big value and philosophy. It has not been that way in about 3 years. The Council for Thriving Children is a little bit differently configured and gets plans out there, but it's been questionable to stakeholders as to, well, then what? Right. So I think that's great that you'll have that meeting. Yeah.
One of the things that we've been working on is we started developing our North Star and
Mm.
our goals. And I brought those goals to the steering committee. So for everyone on this committee, we spent a month creating the goals with action steps. I'm just going to do the key top
Okay.
6 without going into details. I'll pull
Great.
that together for our next steering committee. Sorry, I'm not in steering committee today. I'm in workforce meeting. And so we want to build public awareness of ECE as a profession.
Lovely.
We want to connect educators to networks providing business-related technical assistance and capital access to optimize their business operations, lower cost, and increase capacity, which we talked a lot about today.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
talked about food support and training.
Yeah.
So those were 2. Identify means to decrease startup costs.
Nice.
Something that we're interested in looking into, and the loan models and things that Julie has brought with her background has been
Right.
great. Share Vermont and New Hampshire ECE information so that our Vital Communities website is up to date and reflective of what's happening in these organizations, so we can be a bit of a hub.
Uh-huh.
And if there's any information that you want to send to us that we can push out or post on Vital Communities,
Yeah.
we'd be happy to do that.
Thank
And
you.
then we want to inform our advocacy work group, which is our second work group, and work hand in glove together to say, this is
Yeah.
what we found out. Now we need you guys to help amplify it.
Gotcha.
So those
So-
all got approved.
Gotcha. Who comes to the advocacy group besides folks from the Upper Valley? You said Nancy and Mackenzie. Anybody else? Statewide?
We've had Jackie Furman come at
Oh, yeah.
times.
Right. Yeah.
We've had Jillian from New Futures.
Julian. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
She has come.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have, I grab speakers as I can to
Sure.
come in to keep
Sure.
us in the loop and informed, and you're more than welcome to participate.
Yeah.
I think we've sent out the links
Yeah.
because we need to expand that network.
Mhm.
And that's what we're seeing, is that
Yeah.
we have the Upper Valley flavor, which is unique with the
Sure.
hospital and the college.
Sure.
But the college and the hospital, I mean, they also have satellites, the hospital
Yeah.
does.
Right.
And so they're interested in seeing what models that we can come up with that they can use in their satellites as
Yep.
well,
Yep.
which kind of increases that networking. We are going to try to reach out to some people in the legislature to come and talk with us in late summer, early fall, so
Uh-huh.
we can kind of plant some seeds moving forward with them. So we're going to work on that. But we want to expand, and we want to decrease the silos
Yeah,
and make sure that we're galvanizing and synchronizing our energy. Very much is our goal for the next year or two.
perfect. Yeah, Mackenzie and Amy and Jillian all come to the Wednesday mornings as well. So that'll be great to have that synergy. Yeah.
Yeah, terrific.
Yeah.
Anything else for this meeting? We've covered our topics. I think I'm very appreciative. I learned a lot
Yeah.
today. I did.
And again, just being thoughtful about the best way to be helpful to the actual providers, because, you know, there are really very, very easy ways for them to get significant dollars back in their pocket, just as a first thing. You know, if they just stop paying for Indeed, if they just, if there's a few things that could really make a big difference for them, and in a way that feels helpful. And I think, like you said, Joanne, if nothing else, if we can train you to be helpful to them, right? That's fabulous. We don't feel we have to do everything. We've got, what's provided out there, but there's often just people just have never heard it. They've never heard it. They're all like, do you want another meeting with something? Like, no, I don't want another meeting. Do you want it? Right? No. If you're already in a meeting and you wanted to share, I think that could be helpful. Yeah.
Well, I'll be happy to do that. Any
Great.
other business for today?
Just
Are
sorry, there
most
were-
people on holiday, do you think? Oh,
I
sorry.
know,
Go ahead.
wish there were more people of our committee on here, but it's good to share this information.
Yes, and I do find that when we share the minutes,
Yeah.
a lot of people read the minutes, or they hop onto the recording. This
Mhm.
time of year, everyone's so busy.
Yes.
And these are voluntary meetings. So we might have 10 people, or we might have 7 people or 6. Just
Mhm.
kind of
course.
depends. But the information is invaluable to those of us who are
Yeah.
here today, for sure.
Yeah.
And we will definitely pass it on in many different ways.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that video together to support early childhood educators. I
Yeah.
heard that it got positive
You were
responses.
great.
That was really nice.
Isn't that great? I know it. Thank you for doing that with us. We really appreciate it.
Of course, happy to do that. Any way that I can help support, don't
Lovely.
hesitate to reach out.
Yeah.
And our next meeting is July 17th. So we have a little bit of a break at 12:30. I will be in touch. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. And before I forget
Take
to
care,
say it,
everybody.
Joanne, before I forget to say it, I think it means a lot for childcare folks, professionals, to have a superintendent of schools show how much you respect and value them equally. It doesn't always
Absolutely.
happen. And it's been really terrific, Joanne. I just want to share that with you.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy.
Bye.
Go for
We're
a walk on
we're
the
showing up for
beach.
cocktails
Yeah.
at the beach.
Oh, yes.
Enjoy your
Bye-bye.
vacation.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care.